travel around the country. I mean, that's absolutely the priority for people in this country. They want to see government continuing to get on with delivering on the people's business. Today, the National Economic Dialogue is very much about that, and I think that's where that issue lies.
Campaigners say people's circumstances can change significantly as they wait for social housing. It's after it emerged almost 5,100 offers of council homes were turned down in 2021 and 2022. Suzanne Rogers from Social Justice Ireland said many people wait a long time to have their needs met.
And on the social housing assessment, we have 12,913 households who've been waiting more than 7 years, and we have 22,593 households waiting between 2 and 7 years. A lot can change for people between 2 and 7 years.
It's 7:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. If you have a need for speed in your life, take in a Formula One weekend with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Budapest or Vienna.
Scattered heavy showers tonight with thunderstorms possible and spot flooding too. Mist and fog patches will set in again, warm and humid with lows not falling below 14 to 16 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
This is News Talk.
And you're welcome along on this Monday evening. So yet again, the Hurling Championship pumps out non-stop drama and of the last minute variety this weekend. 5-time All-Ireland winner with Kilkenny, David Herity, and journalist and author Christy O'Connor are on the way. Rhasidat Adeleke underlines her credentials once again. NCAA champion, 400 metres in a time of 49.20. Needless to say, an Irish record. That's obvious at this stage every time she runs. But it is a time which would have bagged her a silver Olympic medal in Tokyo. So Derval O'Rourke is with us on a 20-year-old superstar who may well be turning pro. We'll probably find that out in the next week or two. She's got a decision to make. Damien Delaney on Manchester City's treble winning Saturday in Istanbul. And Saturday also marked BT Sport bringing down the curtain on 10 years of football coverage. I mean, anecdotal as social media is, maligned across the board, and Saturday was a microcosm of that. John Brune will tell us why. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Michael McCarthy here in studio. Hello.
Hey, Joe.
Richie McCormack as well. Hello.
Hello to News Talk's own Jake Humphrey.
Do you want to say hi back, Mick?
Oh,
come on.
I was about to take offence on your behalf there, Joe, but I won't bother next time. I just mean that he's the the key and core presenter, Mick. Nothing more.
Wow, what a mean start. It's like the most maligned presenter in history.
Joe is into high performance, though.
Oh yeah. I mean, that podcast is a lot.
You got to control.
What time are you up this morning, Joe?
I've never heard a second of that podcast, I have to be honest. Now, maybe that's not me doing my job properly, but do you know what? No job's worth it.
Well, look, if you're not up at 3 a.m. and straight into a cold plunge followed by some journaling, I don't know how you expect to do anything in life. So, the drama.
Are you happy with winning, Joe? Are you happy with winning? Because if you're happy with winning, then you're not a winner.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know. I mean, if Mario Balotelli was the man to put that to. He was like, I don't even want to be here, Jake. What are you coming at me with that for? Yeah, it was like rubbernecking on a car crash on Saturday night. It was bad. It was particularly bad. I think they've had a lot of missteps over the decade, but that was going out with a bang. I mean, Gundogan signing Des Kelly's credentials armband was,
oh my God,
a high point for many people.
You know, I know we'll talk about it later and won't get too into it now, but I think it's the sycophant nature of it all that it's just so hard to deal with. You know, I think even as a City fan, I would have watched that on Saturday night. Now I can't exactly put myself in those shoes and just been a little, this is a bit much.
Yeah,
you know, I don't believe you.
My sense is they're acutely conscious of, and I would think as a consequence rattled by, the loudness of social media. And so there's a very loud group, I'm sure, of Man City fans, I know, and fans across the board, and so I think they are just so acutely conscious of that. It's like a constant, please don't be mad at us. Like they constantly address Man City fans, look at this, and to not mention the massive cloud hanging over that team once in the broadcast. Oh yeah, it's kind of dereliction of duty, really. It is. And even the line at full time was that the greatest story in club history, football history, has its ending.
This is exactly the point.
As if it's like, Swindon Town have come up from League One and gone all the way here. I mean, yeah, it may have its ending, but they have omitted chapters 2008 to 2022. This is not the plucky underdogs and we're all swept away about this.
Absolutely. And like, I do understand if you're a broadcaster of the actual footage, it's not necessarily journalism. I do understand you are here to talk about the football and to talk about what this team have achieved and what Guardiola has done tactically, and you can actually do that and legitimately ignore that cloud. But if you're going to do that, you can't tell the other side of the story. You can't talk about the fairy tale. You can't be this sycophantic thing of this, like, you know, this unbelievable story of these guys coming from nowhere to come. You know, that part is actually disallowed if you want to be the focus on the football crowd. You know, that and that's the major problem.
The hurling championship did its thing again.
I don't know. There wasn't. We don't want to talk about that, do we?
You had a great
Galway, Kilkenny, but what a game that was. Like, you know, last minute goal to win a game. Then there was another match on. You're just waiting for me. You're just going to wait for me to cry, Joe.
Well, I think Clare are still in great shape.
Yeah, but they didn't win the Munster Championship. The matches themselves.
But they never win the Munster Championship.
I know, that's the point. 6 finals now since they last won it. I've been at all of them, Joe. I've been at all of them, and I could tell you a sub story about each one.
Well, I couldn't believe, I mean, so even chatting with Jamesy yesterday on the show, that Ger Loughnane is the only manager post 1932 to have manage them to a Munster medal is quite something. And the other stat which got me last night, I thought it was just a doozy, was that since Clare won it in 98, all of the other counties in Munster have won it at least 4 times.
What are you rubbing it in for, Joe?
But it's a strange relationship that Clare have with the Munster Championship.
Yeah, they can't win the bloody thing.
What's the story?
They had 63 long years, and now they will go at least another 26.
I'm not buying too much into the freeze. They were obviously freeze, and at that moment in the game they feel very important. But I think realistically, if you're Clare and you've had the spells in the game that you've had, and your conversion rate's at about 50%, and I think you've, between blocks, wides and shots drop short, you've passed up on 22 opportunities, then the free feels horrible because of when it happened, but it would be wrong for them to focus in as like, oh well, we were robbed. Unpopular opinion there, I'm sure.
No, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. It's not an unpopular opinion. I think that's what most people are going for, and I think it in some ways I think it overlooks like a really, I thought a clear, straightforward decision that you could see from 50 yards away. So therefore a referee who I was watching the ref, he's right there beside it, he's looking in. I felt like a big thing happened right before that decision, Joe, where he made Quilligan retake a puck out. The Limerick fans invaded the pitch thinking the game was over. There was a whole delay in that. They had to get him off. You can't tell me that's not in his head, that if I give the wrong decision here and give Clare the soft free and it's a draw and referees play for a draw, I'm not suggesting anything in terms of like he wanted either team to win. Referees don't care about that stuff. We know all that, right? But I'm saying is you're very, very wary about giving a free there when Limerick fans have literally been on the pitch celebrating. That's a scandal waiting to happen if he makes the wrong call. So I think there's a natural thing there where you're waiting to be absolutely sure.
Do you mean like afraid for his safety?
No, I mean afraid for making the wrong call. Referees don't want to make the wrong call. Like, no, he did make it, but what I'm saying is, do you not think that Limerick fans being on the pitch 30 seconds beforehand, in their hundreds, if not thousands, in any way influenced the nature of that next play?
I hadn't thought about it actually.
Do you know what I mean though? Because it's like you're literally, if you've got a Gaelic grounds that were literally celebrating winning a Munster title 30 seconds before, and next thing it's going to extra time, and I made the wrong decision, it wasn't the free, the Clare player dived, etc. You know, you're in for a hell of a lot of accusations coming at you, I would say.
I'd sort of see it the other way, in that the safe thing to do is to, God, the whole match hinges on this decision. I'm going to give the free, and then they've extra time to sort it out between themselves, and I'm not the story to the same extent. Whereas you're totally the story if you deny the equalising point, because that's all you're left with. He got it wrong.
Fair enough.
Like you know, going back forever is the thing not to do, to blow and you know, level it up.
Okay, well look,
I thought it was a brave thing to do.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. Look, it was a brave wrong thing to do. Yeah. Look, he made that decision, and that's that. Like, and I've said what I said on it, but at the same time, you're right. Like, the focus should actually, like, if Clare are going to come back into this championship, their focus is on we you know, if I'm at that match yesterday, I'm like, Limerick have all the space, they have all the possession, they're the ones who are getting the scores, they're not missing chances.
You know the name of the guy on security on the door?
Stop. I don't mean, I'm saying in terms of like all of the flow of the game, Limerick should have won the game well, and yet Clare were in it and probably could have drawn it and could have won it at other times in the game and wasted chances at the end of the game in a really like peculiar way. And it's like there's so much heart in that team. They're 5 points down and it was completely gone away from them, and they just fought back and back and back, and there's loads of things they could fix. And given all of the serious games they've played against Limerick in the last 2 years, you know, like they know they're as good as them at this stage, and it's time for us to even realise that, you know. And like it should be a kick-on point. Like I was actually really proud of the way they kept at it and kept in there and should have had a score to bring it to extra time, you know, regardless of being robbed or not robbed, you know. Like Limerick should be obviously insanely proud as well. Like, I mean, we can gloss over 5 in a row all we want because we're used to the superlative surrounding this Limerick team, but Joe, all we've talked about all year is how competitive the Munster Championship is, how difficult it is compared to Leinster, and yet we kind of take for granted that Limerick have just won 5 of them in a row. It's absolutely astonishing. Cork did it in the 80s. When Cork did it in the 80s, Clare were in and out of the doldrums, Waterford were in the doldrums, Tip were at their worst ever run. You know, it don't get me wrong, it was a great achievement, but what Limerick have done in the last 5 years in that competition is absolutely insanity.
Bernard and Finglas says, salty Mick, very salty. I think you were actually less salty than I thought you were going to be.
Well, I'm on the national airwaves. Talk to me off air. No.
Rich,
my Twitter last night was probably my saltiest. I've been calming down ever since.
I look forward to that. I hadn't seen that. I'll enjoy that.
I'm trying to kind of like, you know, be mature, but also be somewhat dispassionate when I'm talking about these things.
The Champions League final, Rich, didn't quite grab. It wasn't the spectacle that we might have hoped for, although at least it wasn't Inter Milan rolling over. It had a certain degree of intrigue. Pep Guardiola screaming relax after 20 minutes. He didn't look that relaxed as he was screaming that funny.
No, he didn't. He wasn't emitting a sense of relaxation and calm from the sideline. It was really intriguing. It wasn't the dog of a final that the two others, that the Europa League and the Conference League final were. I actually found it really engrossing to see how long Inter could keep them at arm's length, and then it's weird how it's turned into a story in terms of the game of how Inter ultimately wasted chances, because I don't think anybody would have foretold that going in. And like City were heavy favourites, and deservedly so, for Inter to keep them at arm's length for as long as they did, and then for them to ultimately squander the game, especially with those chances towards the end, and some brilliant saves by Ederson as well. I don't think we should gloss over that either. It was a good final, not a great final, and a testament to the job Inter did for vast swathes of the match. It's just from their point of view, unfortunate that City were always going to have that edge. It was just a matter of when it was going to come. As soon as something clicked for them, they were going to score. And when you have a player like Rodri in the space that opened up in front of him, the edge of the box, you're always going to be made pay from there.
I agree with that totally. I was even arguing at home about this. Like there was a sort of a sense of either it was dreadful or it was intriguing, and sort of nothing in between. I was massively intrigued by it, because the idea was City here, who have been on getting better and better every game for the last 3-4 months to their culmination, are blowing it. They were playing terrible. It's the worst I've seen them play in months and months and months in the first, maybe the whole game actually. And then I thought when Rodri scored they'd settle down and that was it, and it'd be boring now, and then that didn't happen either. It was loads it was dogged, and kind of like, if you were watching dispassionately and it wasn't a big game, maybe it was a bad game of football. But if you're interested in the narrative of big sport and finals, like, I thought it was great to watch.
If it's tasked with being the pinnacle of the European game and of club football, it didn't live up to that. No. But in terms of an occasion and in terms of a one-on-one matchup, like, it was brilliant to watch in that respect, because, like I say, that Inter team, like, man for man, and especially you go through their defence and midfield, this isn't like nowhere close to what Manchester City have, and like Inter squandered it. Like, they really did. And Lukaku, this is a final underlining of why he should never be trusted as that level of a striker, is because he will waste those chances when it comes down to it, and it's just, that's fait accompli now.
I saw him mess up and I thought, Chelsea are going to sign him this summer. Nothing sure.
What do you mean? He's already a Chelsea player.
He's already a Chelsea player.
Is he still on by Chelsea? They'll bring him back. They'll probably pay for him all the same.
Yeah, exactly. They'll find a way.
Pep dressing so formally, when I saw that, I was like, they're in trouble here.
Oh yeah, he didn't even do it for the FA Cup final.
Do you know? Just thought that is starting a contagion in that dressing room. Here we are. It's just another game. Pep's just walked in all black wearing a jacket. That freaked Ederson out, I guarantee you.
Ederson, the best player on the pitch. But yeah,
sorry, he was woeful by the standards that Pep judges. Like, he was like everything Pep doesn't want in a goalkeeper.
Twice.
Really great saves, terrible distribution. Pep's eyes, fair enough. Yeah. That's not a goalkeeper.
I thought his claim actually probably an underrated moment, but like in injury time where he came right out to the edge of the box and jumped over everybody. Yeah. That's like really, really good goalkeeping in a way that you'll never really hear too much about.
On a serious one, he probably doesn't get the credit as a goalkeeper, and that maybe
because he's the distributor.
Illustrated.
He was fantastic at saving shots and coming out and being that master of his penalty area. Like that's a huge thing for a goalkeeper to be, and it's almost, I want to say like a lost art, but certainly an underappreciated one in the year of distribution and playing it out from the back, and the kind of flack that everything that's thrown at David De Gea. Like God, there was never a question that anything was getting past him. It was like, I think wasn't it Darragh Maloney on the RTE commentary on Saturday? He was like, wasn't this the same end that Dudek was performing heroics against Shevchenko in 2005? And it absolutely was, and it was that level of a final performance from Ederson that got them over the line.
Yeah. We should kick on. The news round then is with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night edition is available now. So, like I said, we're going to talk Rhasidat Adeleke this hour. We'll be talking with Damien Delaney about the Champions League and with John Brune as well between 8 and 9. And after 9, we'll be talking hurling all the way with David Herity and Christy O'Connor. So, Rich, look, I guess we know one way or another things are just going to fall apart for us at the Rugby World Cup. So it's nice to get some early clues.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan Sexton is running the risk of missing a chunk of Ireland's Rugby World Cup warm-up and perhaps even a portion of the tournament itself. According to the business paper City AM, Sexton is to be hit with 3 misconduct charges arising from last month's Heineken Champions Cup final. Leinster are believed to have received a disciplinary letter from the EPCR outlining the charges facing the 37-year-old on Friday. Among them are using obscenities towards referee Jakob Piper and his assistants Carl Dixon and Christoph Ridley. Meanwhile, he's been charged with using foul and abusive language towards those officials and acting in an intimidating manner. If he is suspended, he could well miss, as I say, those 3 World Cup warm-up games which begin on August 5th with the visit of Italy to the Aviva Stadium. England and Samoa follow on from that, and then we've got the big kick-off in France.
So really it's fine if he misses the warm-up games. Better off, actually.
Just come in cold, having not played since the Six Nations.
Well, not quite that, but
Keywood did that in 2003, I think, didn't he? He missed like a year and came back and just played the tournament and nothing else, and I think it was fine.
You'd back Sexton to do it because he has this crazy ability to not play and then pitch up, and there's less chance of him getting injured.
Maybe. I'd still rather he wasn't suspended. I know. It was our choice. Me and Andy Farrell.
Yeah. So you have some reaction from the hurling?
To the hurling, yes indeed. The hurling going on yesterday, and the Kilkenny manager Derek Ling says plenty of work still needs to be done ahead of their All-Ireland hurling semi-final. In injury time, Killian Buckley goal saw the Cats claim the Leinster title with a 421 to 226 win over Galway at Croke Park. Kilkenny saw an 8-point lead with 21 minutes to go evaporate into an injury time deficit, and Ling believes they can't get away with that again.
Well, I think we need more. I think we need to be better. I think when you're 8 points up, obviously we look at that, and it's happened a few times this year. We've had good leads, and other teams have come back into it. That can happen, but I think what's important is that we need to manage it a little bit better at times. I think when we get a lead like that, easier said than done. The players are on the pitch. Galway are a fantastic team. They have excellent hurlers up front, especially, and that's just the nature of the game. It's how we respond, and I think today that was. You could see the character of a lot of those fellas came through.
He comes across, I must say, as a very decent, personable character, Derek Ling, and you just loved him running onto the pitch.
Yeah.
It was amazing. There's just nothing sweeter in life or sport than a last-minute sucker punch. We won the game. There's nothing you can do about it. The joy.
Because it was on the way back for the thing, and the commentary was very much sort of like, they've gone ahead and they've won the game, and you were thinking, wait, is he jumping? And it was literally that quick, you know. God, it's a killer for Galway though, isn't it? Like, I agree with you on Ling, and I think that's something we'll probably talk about as the season goes on a little bit. The contrast between him and Cody, I think, is very interesting. It'd be so tempting to just go with more of the same, and it's great that they haven't. But Galway, to fight back from 8 points down, to look dead and buried and be thinking like, this is gone. What the hell is going on? Like, is Shefflin going to even survive the season? Because how do you come back from this? To show such heart and to come on, and for the bench to play so well, for Flynn to come on and get the goal. Nyland's best ever game for Galway, and you're thinking they've won this game. I can't believe it. I can't believe that Galway have done this to Kilkenny, and they're going to go on and win. And what a position they're in now going into the next. And they're the thoughts you're having. The next thing, goal in the last second, the thing that almost never happens,
I think they're goosed, Galway.
It's hard to know.
The 4 goals, albeit the Killian Buckley one had a freakish element to it, maybe less so that one, but the Mikey Butler goal, the way he wasn't tracked and things opened up for him, the Keoghan goal, Keoghan or Keoghan?
Mossy Keoghan, I think.
That was 2-on-2, and it's the 2 Galway fellas go up and compete for it. He stays down, 1 Kilkenny player goes up for it, and boom. And then even the Walter Walsh one, you couldn't take anything away from Walsh. What a goal. It's everything that's beautiful about hurling encapsulated, but it's just far too soft a goal to concede, allied to the fact that they have, with all due respect to Offaly, Tipperary most likely, who are, Tipperary, a lot of they're not even dark horses.
So forgotten about.
Yeah. Tipperary in the quarter final.
Not even on the cards.
Overcome them, that's a big question mark. I'd make Tip favourites for that game. And then you got Limerick in a semi-final, make Limerick favourites for that game. And then you got the final itself. I just don't see it.
It's a long road, but let's just focus on whether they be Tip or not yet. And I would think there's definitely something they can take heart from. It's a absolute sucker punch, as you say yourself. It's a killer blow, but that's part of the evaluation of Shefflin's management, is whether they come back from it. All the things you're saying, you're 100% right, but they can be sorted. Sometimes matches are like that.
Sure.
Sometimes matches are like that, and they get a little bit kind of away from you. And again, I think the biggest thing about Galway's character is how they fought back into that game.
Fair enough.
I was surprised by it. I thought it was over. They're 8 points down, and Kilkenny just seemed to have the beating of them everywhere, and they fought back. Now they did lose the game. It's it's like I say, as if the referee just decided to give Kilkenny 3 points extra or something. They conceded that goal. It's all part of the performance, but I just thought they were desperately unlucky.
Yeah. You have Brian Lohan then, Rich, obviously the free loomed large in his mind, or the non-free?
Non-free, and on the other side of the draw, as you mentioned, Limerick turning a half-time deficit into a 5th Munster title in a row. They held off Clare with that 123-122 scoreline at the TUS Gaelic Grounds. Speaking to our own Aisling O'Reilly after the game, banner manager Brian Lohan felt to some degree they left the game behind them.
Yeah, we were happy enough at half time. We probably could have gone in a little bit more ahead. Just before half time we were doing well, and probably left a couple of scores behind us. So that's really the story of the game. Really, we just left scores behind us.
Yeah, a few wides and just some balls dropping short, and that's probably in the end what cost it.
Yeah, I think that our stats lads were telling us now that our shooting efficiency was only around 50% and theirs was approximately 70%. So that's tough.
That'll do it. 50% meets 70.
Yeah, that's it. There was 3 chances to equalise late on that were all gimmies in modern day hurling anyway, and one of them was Kelly, who had showed up it would have been a great score, but the finish was the easy part. And that's what's so hard to deal with from a Clare point of view. You can talk, as you said earlier, and you're actually right about it. It's
you've said I'm right a lot in this.
It was so egregious that it's hard to kind of get your head around it. That's it was a bad decision.
Yeah,
that would they should have got, but in some ways that would have been getting out of jail when they could have just taken matters out of the referees' hands themselves early on. So
control the controllables is what I've heard on the High Performance podcast. Mossy says, I definitely agree with Mick. The crowd invasion put the fear in the referee of robbing them of their expected win. That's a neutral Cork man here. Paul does make the point. Plenty of soft frees against Limerick in the first half yesterday. 2 hilarious yellow cards for Casey and Hegarty. Hegarty yellow card for being pulled, dragged, kicked. I'm sure he's used to this treatment by now, says Paul. Yeah, the Hegarty thing
didn't affect the game though. It was nonsense.
But imagine he gets another yellow.
Limerick kept their free that they had. I know, and he didn't get the other free, but I agree that's nonsense. We had, and Clare have been at that worse than anyone this year. I'll be honest about that. Kind of trying to get lads in trouble, or
big time. And your man, I don't know what Hegarty did to him exactly, but he hit the deck, And even like there was a half, I'm going to slow down my stride. I felt half in the hope that Hegarty gets a wallop into me when he's already been fouled by another fella, and then we're in his face, and like we know it's Hegarty, hit the deck, whoa, yellow card, and I did kind of think that's one where his reputation's gone totally against him, and I felt sorry for him at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't figure out what had happened in the match actually, like at there, but there was that sort of murmur of like, oh Jesus, has he done something again? Because he was so far over. The whole thing took ages because he was over the other side of the pitch. Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, is this going to be a red card? Has Hegarty done something again? And he hadn't done anything, like, you know.
Yeah. So we have Tailteann quarterfinals. We have the fixtures named, Richie.
Yeah, Limerick's meeting with Laois back at the TUS Gaelic grounds on Saturday. We'll get the Tailteann Cup quarterfinals underway. That will have a 3 p.m. throw-in. They'll get underway at 4 at Park Tailteann in Navan, where Meath play Wexford, and Kingspan Breffni host Cavan and Down from 5:15 that afternoon. On Sunday, Antrim meet Carlow at Corrigan Park, where there's a 1 p.m. throw-in. Interestingly, only the games in Limerick and Cavan will be screened by GAA Go. The others just to be witnessed by those who attend.
Messy situation surrounding the Irish under-21s.
Yeah, on more than one front. The Republic of Ireland under-21 boss Jim Crawford has described Gabon's no-show for a friendly match as a real mess. Ireland were due to play the African side's under-23s in Austria tomorrow, but their opponents decided not to travel. Crawford said he would have brought a smaller squad if he knew he was just going for 2 matches. Ireland still have games to come on Friday with Ukraine and then on Sunday against Kuwait. Meanwhile, Crawford says he's not surprised by England's pursuit of Tom Cannon. The Everton striker is taking time to reflect on his international future, having scored on his Ireland under-21 debut against Iceland in March. Cannon scored 8 goals and 20 loan appearances for Preston in the second half of this season, and Crawford says he'll speak with Cannon after this camp in Austria.
Why does taking time never feel like the correct way to characterise the situation?
Oh, look, I mean, it's sad, like, but you immediately see that yesterday and you're like, oh, he's gone. Forget about Tom Cannon. I've been penciling him in for the future.
Yeah. We should mention, Rich, it's our first story, would be our first piece after the ad break. Definitely one of the stories of the weekend, if not the story from an Irish perspective. We got a full-on superstar territory here.
We do, yeah. Rhasidat Adeleke posted the 20th fastest women's 400 metres of all time at the weekend. She did so winning the NCAA Championships in Texas in a time of 49.20 seconds. Adeleke also helped the University of Texas win the 4x100 metre title.
I mean, it's kind of insane. She breaks an Irish record every time she runs. So I think she's set 7 national records this year.
Yeah,
which is quite something.
Indoor and outdoor, yeah.
Yeah. Whilst it probably wouldn't win a silver medal in Paris next year, 49.20 would have won a silver medal in the Olympic final just gone. She beat the pre-race favourite Britton Wilson as well, who had beaten her in her last race. Like, that was the other aspect of this record run, is that it was a proper race.
I was just about to say the same thing. I thought that was what like caught my eye when I watched it on Sunday morning. I'd be interested to see what Derval takes of it as well. Like, this wasn't a time run, this was a race, you know, and she won the race. And I think that, you know, athletics is a sport like any other. It is sometimes about like the match play of it, you know what I mean, and that's a huge factor as well in our evaluation of how far Rhasidat is going to go as well, is that, you know, she took on someone and beat her in a race. Like, yeah,
it does seem like she has a decision to make now because well, interestingly, actually, the opponent who she beat, who had beaten her in the previous race, Britton Wilson, has said that she's absolutely turning pro and hitting the Diamond League next year, 2024. And so Adeleke is having, I would think, meetings with lots of brands and shoe companies who are offering her huge amounts of money to turn pro and say goodbye to Texas, and that must be a very tempting thing to do, albeit things are going very well at Texas, and you know, you're changing in close enough proximity to the Olympics. So I think we'll get word over the next couple of weeks, listening to Colin Dennehy on AM this morning. So that's one aspect of this story, but either way, just amazing. NCAA title.
It's like a thrilling thing, isn't it? Like to you know, any random like Sunday morning or whatever, you might just turn on your Twitter feed and it's like, oh, Rhasidat's at it again, and it's always positive. Like, you know,
yeah, you'll never guess. She set a record. A national record. We'll talk to Derval O'Rourke in just a moment. Richie, thank you very much.
Nice, lads.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Your chance to win big.
News Talk's Summer Cash Machine.
Okay, cash machine reloaded. The new amount you need to know is €20,582.31. Text play to 57557. Get your entry in by 3 o'clock tomorrow. And if your phone rings, answer within 5 rings and give us the exact amount in euro and cents. So remember the amount again, €20,582.31. Over 18s only. Text cost €2.50. And you're playing across the Go Loud network of stations. Terms and conditions on newstalk.com.
The News Round on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
Dundeel Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of electric cars from all of